And Cathy Engelbert does not have a good enough and healthy enough relationship with not just players, but the best players in the league. You know, she doesn't have a good enough relationship, a good enough rapport with the superstars of her own league. That's a surefire way to make sure that you get your ass kicked on about the league.
So, Rodney, the WNBA was turned on its head yesterday after damning statements by Napheesa Collier about the WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Before we even get into reactions, I think we should kind of break down some of the things that Fee had to say about Cathy, because they were pretty intense. I was not expecting her to sit down and come out with pages typed, prepared statement about some of the things. So I think that the first thing that
very methodical she was.
Yes.
Surgical.
Yes. So the first surgical. The first thing that she said is that Cathy Engelbert told her that only losers complain about the referees. And this was apparently during Unrivaled, right? That was during Unrivaled, right? She said that her and Cathy had a conversation.
They had a meeting in the summertime or the last WNBA offseason, during the Unrivaled season. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, and I do want to just amend. I want to amend that quote a little bit. She said that only the losers complain about the refs. That is
okay. Only the losers complain about the refs. Okay, correct. She also went on to say some things about Caitlin Clark, and that was, I think, is where a lot of people are kind of like, okay, girl, you gotta go. She said that Caitlin Clark should be happy that she has that $16 million that she's making outside of the WNBA, because she wouldn't have gotten that if she wasn't on that platform. Mm-hmm. Fee also said that Cathy does not call players when they're injured. And she thought that that was something that really stood out to her. So those were some of the big things that she said in this 3 or 4 minute opening statement during her exit interviews for the Minnesota Lynx. But now let's get into your thoughts on it.
My thoughts on Cathy are probably what everybody's thoughts on Cathy are. There needs to be a change in leadership in the WNBA. We all see the direction that the WNBA can potentially go in the next 2 to 3 years. We all see the flourishing business that it is, that it has always tried to be. It's right there. Yeah. And unfortunately, when you have the wrong leadership walking you through the right door, then it's the wrong opportunity. And Cathy Engelbert does not have a good enough and healthy enough relationship with not just players, but the best players in the league. You know, she doesn't have a good enough a good enough rapport with the superstars of her own league. That's a surefire way to make sure that you get your ass kicked on about the league. You know, like David Stern and any other commissioner in any other league, it doesn't matter what sport you're talking about, has a good relationship with their star players. That's so healthy and so important. And so, I think Cathy pretty much has written her ticket out of town. You know, I'm sure whatever board of trustees exists behind her are looking at her with a funny eye. And I don't expect her to have this job too much longer, if I could be honest.
Yeah, I don't think that I've ever seen this happen before in a league where, like you mentioned, your star players are coming out saying this. We know that it started with Napheesa, but then she's had a slew of other superstars that have come out. Asia Wilson last night after their win said, I'm standing with Napheesa. So she's going to have to either step down, or I think that she probably will step down by the end of the week. If not,
no, you think she's going to step? I think she's too prideful to step down. I think she's going to have to be forced to be removed. She should step down.
I feel like it looks better.
You gotta fire me. You gotta fire me. I'm sorry, respectfully.
Honestly, though, this is not something that was a shock to me as far as the players not necessarily being on Cathy's side. If you remember last year, there was this battle between the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association because the women of this league were coming out and saying, okay, people are racist in the stands. There's a lot of bigotry going on right now, homophobia, and we're not going to stand for it. And Cathy was like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. And we've debated about that.
We have.
She said that the rivalry between Angel and Caitlin was great for the league. And I don't think that the ladies of the league like that. I think that everybody's just been kind of sitting back waiting on something to pop off.
Yeah.
And now they've come out and been like, yeah, whatever Fee said, she said it.
You know, I found very interesting. Yesterday, I saw an interview that Angel McCoughtry did with Raz Golda-Wunde, and Angel was talking about, you know, okay, so Caitlin and Angel and Paige, their salaries are $60,000, right? Like $64,000 in their rookie season. We know what Roger Goodell makes. We know everybody's salary. The one person's salary we do not know is Cathy Engelbert. And Angel went on to say that at her previous job, I can't remember the institution she used to work for, but her salary minimum was $3 million annually. And so the expectation is that her current salary is somewhere in that ballpark. Now, if that is the case, if Cathy Engelbert is making that much more money than Caitlin Clark, we have a problem here. Because that would put her as the highest salary in the entire league by far. So yes, we need, and that's an annual salary, right? So we need to really figure out what her income is looking like. Like, what is her salary? Because the business model is completely off structured if she is at the top of the food pyramid, you know, like, and I'm not saying that she shouldn't be adequately compensated, but there has to be some sort of pay transparency going on with the structure of the league.
I see why they don't want to be transparent about that. Whoa.
Could you imagine?
That's a lot of money, because that means that you really think that this is your league. You haven't even decided, I'm going to take a pay cut to give these players more money. And then the WNBA is stalling on the CBA negotiations. So it's like, it just looks bad all the way around. And I don't know what Fee's thought process was when she initially heard these comments from Cathy. Like, I wonder if she was like, okay, I'm gonna sit on this. Like, when am I gonna say this? Like,
no. Oh, yeah. This was so premeditated. This was very calculated. Yeah. For those out there who don't know, Napheesa Collier is one of the co-founders of Unrivaled, along with Brianna Stewart, and her husband, Napheesa Collier's husband, is actually the CEO and the commissioner of Unrivaled. Yeah. So and that was a part of her statement as well. She has had a first seat opportunity to look into how someone else operates and functions their business. Now, the scale of Unrivaled is very small potatoes in comparison to the WNBA, you know, just in terms of all of the arms of the business. Obviously, Unrivaled pays its players more, which is kind of crazy. But she has seen the personal interactions and the way that care can be taken into consideration, even when doing business. And so, you know, if that's been her experience in the league that she founded, then yeah, in the other place that I exist, that I had to perform professionally, I have a different level of expectation for what I should be getting as a marquee player in this league. And, you know, the WNBA will have to make some really tough decisions, because there are other opportunities that are existing for women's basketball players. And if you don't want to get on board, if you don't want to, you know, acquiesce, if I can just be completely honest, to the emotional demands of these women in this league of saying, yo, care for me, care about me, and adequately compensate me, then you're going to lose all the momentum that you've built up over the last 2 years. And that would be a catastrophe. And investors, everybody will have a complete fit about that.
Yeah, because obviously the women of this league, they trust Fee. They trust Brianna Stewart. They trusted them enough to say, I'm not going to go play overseas. I'm going to stay here. It's something that hasn't happened before. This inaugural league, they had a lot of success. They added on 2 more teams this offseason. So, yeah, I mean, the future of the WNBA hangs in the balance here, because they're going to have to get somebody in there that everybody's on board with, that is going to really take this league to where it should be. And that's something that Napheesa said. Like, we've been held back because of poor leadership.
We sitting here and we talking that she should be removed, right? I think we both kind of agreed to that. But I remember a couple of years ago when the NFL, in the aftermath of the Ray Rice situation and Colin Kaepernick situation, you know, there was a call for Roger Goodell to be removed. I don't know how he did it. You know, I can't really recall what took place, but there was a reimagining of who Roger Goodell was shortly thereafter. And he has become somewhat of a beloved commissioner. I don't know if Cathy is a student of anything other than her own personal interest, but that might be the way that she needs to spin this, because I don't know what the rest of the WNBA ownership groups, you know, look and sound like. I don't know how they feel about Cathy. I don't know if she's protecting the owners' interests, and that is why she comes off the way in which she does, because she doesn't work for the players. She works for the WNBA team owners. And that's how every league works. So if she is protecting the interests of the owners, then there is some runway for her to be disliked by players, because ultimately they don't matter as much as the owners. And so that's an interesting thing to figure out, if she is speaking on behalf of the ownership groups and these words aren't even necessarily her own personal beliefs. You know, what if that's the case? What if she's just what if she's the puppet for the owners? What would you have to say about that?
that would just open up a whole can of worms. It would be very similar to the NFL. And then it's just like, well, what can you do? Because you know who Jerry Jones is. You know who Stan Kroenke is, all these other owners, Mark Davis. You know who they are, but you want to continue to play. I think that the difference is that the W has, or not the W, but the women of the W have a little bit of leverage because they have shown that they can go elsewhere and have success elsewhere, where the NFL doesn't have that. The USFL is not nearly as big.
True.
And you're not going to get paid more, right? So I think that that's the difference. I can say if I'm Caitlin Clark or I'm Angel Reese or Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins coming in, Juju actually already has endorsement deals through Unrivaled. That's where they have a little bit more leverage than NFL per se.
Fair.
But she got to go. The W is tight. The NFL ain't that tight. They just they do their own thing. The players do their own thing. They're not really kumbaya. Yeah. The W though, they tight.
When women decide you to target, listen here, man.
She'll be gone by the end of the week.
I do want to hear from our Fumble family, though. Let us know your thoughts on Cathy Engelbert. Do you feel like it is time for her to go as commissioner of the WNBA? And what are your thoughts on all things Napheesa Collier said in her exit interview?
And after you do that, please go click the link in our description box for our newsletter. We got you covered on all the latest things happening in sports. We had a few good shorts happening this week. So please go check those out. Yeah.
Yo, you about to go do Pilates or something? What's this top you got on?
No, it's just comfortable.
Real athleisurely. All right, man. We out of here. Peace.